And now, meow.
Pero, o sea, básicamente era eso.
Hola, buenas tardes.
Hola.
Hola a todas. Ok, buenas tardes, bienvenidas a todas. Por favor, quien no tenga el micrófono apagado, ayúdenos, por favor. Bien. Buenas tardes, bienvenidas. Esta es nuestra sesión, el de Herding Cats, con nuestras queridas hermanas Wildcard Bellydance, Siva, Christmas y Reina. A partir de aquí, ellas van a darnos esta sesión. Realmente es una plática. Y cuando tengan preguntas, comentarios, por favor, en el chat. So I just say to all of these ladies, you are Wildcard. You are here to talk about the tribe dynamics. And if they have in one moment some comments, questions, they can make in the chat. But in the end is when we respond more all the questions. So welcome. And again, to the Betrayal.
Where's the chat? Can we see the chat?
I
Can we
don't-
see the chat?
I'm trying to find
The
where's
chat,
Oh, it's right here. It's right here.
yes. But for
okay.
now, we can start with the talk. So welcome. We are yours.
Great.
Yay! So we're Wildcard Bellydance. We're the teachers. We're the core members of Wildcard. We've been dancing together for over
20 years.
Yeah.
Over 20 years.
Yeah, for a long time. So we've gone through some changes, what we were from pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, post-pandemic. So we want to talk about where we were, where we've been, and where we're going. So yeah.
So, ellas son Wildcard Bellydance, llevan trabajando más de cerca de 20 años y lo que vamos a manejar en esta charla es el cómo ellas han trabajado durante todos estos años, antes de la pandemia y posterior a la pandemia.
But we're
Wow, she said it way faster than you.
So we're kind of curious about the people who are attending the workshop. Are you in a troupe? Are you a troupe director? Are you a solo dancer? If you can like put it in the chat so we can kind of see who's here. So we can kind
Nos
of
gustaría preguntarle a ustedes, las asistentes, quién de ustedes forma parte de una tribu, quiénes de ustedes son directoras, para tener una idea de cómo aproximarnos a ustedes. Si gustan, por favor, prender sus cámaras y que podamos verlas. De esta manera, como vamos a interactuar con ellas, va a ser más fácil que nos puedan ver. Gracias.
But it shows up in the chat.
Okay.
Troop director here.
Troop director
And
here
soloist.
and soloist. Hi,
Nice.
Kay.
Anybody else?
¿Alguien más que quiera participar?
Oh, so nice to see faces
Yeah.
instead of pictures. Yay.
Muchas
Dan-
gracias. Nos gusta
All
ver
right.
caras.
Got chance in Canada.
Nice.
Awesome.
¿Alguien más?
Okay. Fat Chef's beginner. Great.
Student. Okay.
Hi, Margaret. Mikiko, did I say that right? Yeah? Okay, cool.
From Canada, yes.
Oh, Troop Loba Loba.
From Gideon Studio, our students.
Yeah. Okay, Fashion, Statura, and Fusion. Awesome.
Okay.
So I think like one of the first things to talk about, we have a lot of things to talk about, but like our style that we have as Wildcard right now is that we're a collective, that there's not just a troupe director, that all of us together decide what's going on with the troupe and what we want to do and where we want to go. And it's not always been that way. We've had definitely a different journey of where we've gone, but this is what we have found works best for us now as being a collective.
En el caso de ellas, no trabajan con una directora en particular, sino como un colectivo. Ellas toman decisiones entre todas, hacen evaluaciones y de ahí toman las decisiones. Y esto no fue algo que fuera desde el principio, es algo que han tenido que experimentar durante bastante tiempo. Es parte de una evolución.
The chat, we can answer them later.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of the advantages of being a collective is that all of us get to like share the workload, which is wonderful, so that one person doesn't get burnt out. We share all the things from teaching to all of the tasks that we need to do for true business and social media. We share everything. And that's one of the biggest strengths that we have as a collective.
And we've found that even within the three of us, we each have our own strengths, and we each have things that maybe are not so much in our wheelhouse. Like Raina is great with numbers. She's an accountant, so she handles the banking, that type of thing. Siebes is great with community outreach and being kind of our business director, of like being the go-between between us and festivals, us and students. I do all our music editing and music type of thing. And then when it comes to, you know, moves and costuming and that kind of thing, we all get to contribute on an equal level.
En este caso, el hecho de trabajar como colectivo nos ha sido posible gracias a que aprovechamos las fuerzas de cada una de ellas. Por ejemplo, Reina, ella es contadora, así que el hecho de que se haga cargo de los números, como del dinero, de lo que van recopilando, eso es una faceta para ella. En el caso de Siva, ella es la directora que se hace cargo de como las relaciones humanas, de contactar a los festivales, ir a presentaciones, es como el contacto entre Walcar y otras entidades. En el caso de Christmas, ella se encarga de lo que es la música, la edición y también de lo que es social media. En este caso, hablar de creación de movimientos o de lo que caracteriza a Walcar como danza, eso lo hacen entre todas, así como las decisiones de vestuario y, sí, de vestuario y de la estética.
I think the only disadvantage of being a collective is that we all have to agree on things. And we've learned how to compromise and how to give and take a little bit here and there, and to take pauses within of like, we have to make sure we don't just each have an agenda, that we're all trying to think about what the wild card agenda is. So we think about that when we're having a compromise.
Algo con lo cual trabajamos primordialmente son acuerdos. Todas tenemos charlas en las cuales hacemos acuerdos y decidimos qué tanto nos comprometemos, y parte de nuestra agenda implica que lo evaluemos entre todas y no hacemos algo que no vaya con la agenda como tal de Walcar Bellydance. Todas tenemos que estar de acuerdo.
And this isn't our day job.
No.
The most important thing is that we're having fun and that we're working together, because we're not in it for the money. So we have to be in it for the joy of dance and the joy of hanging out.
Algo primordial es que este no es nuestro trabajo del diario. En nuestro caso, nos reunimos y somos Walcar para estar juntas, compartir, danzar, y honestamente no lo hacemos por el dinero.
Does have anything to add about?
Not about that, I don't think.
Want to talk about classes?
Yeah, let's talk about classes. How we
Preguntas,
run.
¿hay algo más que queramos compartir al respecto? No, vamos a lo siguiente.
And like Valky said, if you have any questions that come up as we're doing this, throw them in the chat.
Because we're going to switch topics, a little bit about us, a little bit about our classes, a little bit about our student troop. So if there's questions pertaining to a certain topic, we can answer them at the end of each, you know, when section. Yeah.
Or
Les reitera
haven't thought of,
Christmas.
we'll put it in.
Christmas les reitera, como vamos a estar manejando un tema tras otro y cerrándolo, les insta que vayan haciendo en el chat preguntas, porque vamos a tener distintas aproximaciones sobre nuestras clases, cómo manejar grupos, cómo hacemos negocios, etcétera. Así que en algún momento que salga algún comentario o pregunta, hágalo y continuamos con este tema.
So our classes, the first thing is that we don't own a studio, which thank goodness for that, because we would have not survived the pandemic.
Poor Valky's all.
Perdón, I just can't. Dice, fucking bitch.
I know.
Walcar, Siva dice, algo primordial respecto a hablar de las clases es que nosotras no tenemos estudio. Y qué bueno, porque de lo contrario no hubiéramos podido pagarlo durante la pandemia. Y me dio risa porque pues yo sí, pues me hago y ya, fue todo. Sigamos.
So I think that's made it a lot easier for us as a collective to survive the pandemic, because the way our classes are set up is that we teach at a community center, so we don't even have to pay for studio rental. The community center is in charge of advertising to the local population, and we can also advertise as well to try and get more students, but they take all the money and then we get like a paycheck at the end of each session. So it makes it
Algo
easy for us to have classes.
Algo importante de nosotras es que trabajamos con centros comunitarios, de tal manera que ellos hacen todo lo que es la promoción de las clases, ocupamos el espacio y esto nos permite a que ellos hagan toda esa administración respecto a un espacio como tal. Lo único que nosotros hacemos al final del mes es recibir un cheque, pero nos apoyamos en centros comunitarios.
Like, what would you like to get out of this workshop? What would you like to too? But what also made it interesting for the pandemic is that we didn't have to make any of the hard decisions about our classes, because it was the community center that said we're shutting down. It's the community center that said like, oh, you can start holding classes again. And the community center that said like, oh, you have to wear masks, or now you don't have to wear masks, or you have to be vaccinated, or you don't have to be. So they are the ones that made all of those decisions, and we just had to follow their guidelines.
Algo que sucedió durante la pandemia es, dado que trabajamos con los centros comunitarios, nosotras no nos tuvimos que preocupar de, oye, vamos a dar clases o vamos a recibir, la gente tiene vacuna, no tiene vacuna, etcétera. Entonces, en ese aspecto, dado que ellos no tuvieron actividades, pues nosotras simplemente no las tuvimos.
So our classes, we normally have them every 6 weeks. We have 6 weeks on and then 2 weeks off, so we all get a break, and we have them really consistently so that people know like, oh yeah, class is going to start again, and then there's going to be small breaks and classes will start resume. So I think it's helped our student base to know that we will consistently always be there.
But we also get a little bit of a break. So 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off, maybe 3 if it's the holidays,
Right.
but it's always consistently, we get a little time off so we also don't get burnt out.
Algo en cuanto trabajamos con las clases, digamos, el ritmo es distinto por ejemplo, aquí, ellas trabajan con ciclos de 6 semanas. Hacen el anuncio, empiezan en una fecha determinada, cumplen 6 semanas y tienen semanas de descanso y vuelven a empezar dicho ciclo. De esa manera la gente identifica cuando empieza un ciclo, tienen pausa, cuando vuelven a comenzar y están siendo parte de estos grupos cíclicos. Y menciona Reina, algo importante es que también se toman tiempo libre, en el cual no se ven y se dedican a su vida personal. Entonces tienen ciclos de clases, ciclos de descanso entre clases y ciclos en los cuales descansan absolutamente de cualquier. Yeah.
Before the pandemic, we used to have classes twice a week, but the pandemic kind of changed things for us. Right now we only have them once a week, and we're growing that, of course, but and people get they sign up for one class, they get a certain price. They sign up for 2 classes, they get a multiple class discount, so that it makes it more affordable for dancers to take more than one class.
Antes de la pandemia teníamos 2 sesiones a la semana para impartir clases. Dado por la pandemia ha cambiado esta dinámica, solamente la tenemos una vez a la semana. Y lo que nosotros ofrecemos es, si tomas una clase a la semana, tiene un costo, si tomas 2 o más, ya se va haciendo una especie de paquete y manejamos ciertos descuentos.
Okay, I'm turning it over to one of you guys.
You were going to talk about how our classes have, like how we structure classes and
Multi-level.
So we used to have, pre-pandemic, we used to have multi-level class. So level 1 was just beginner level. The level 2 was an intermediate class. So the bulk of our vocabulary, our movement vocabulary was there. And then level 3 was basically for our student troupe, performance-based class. And then we also had an hour of troupe time before, where we would, spend time talking about upcoming shows and festivals and, working on new creative ideas and things like that.
Nosotras trabajamos con distintos grupos. Tenemos el grupo 1, que es multinivel, ahí incluimos los de nivel básico. Tenemos también el nivel 2, que se considera nivel intermedio, y ahí vemos ya lo que es, sí, vocabulario y lo que es dinámicas de grupo. Y tenemos el nivel 3, que es en sí nuestra tropa de estudiantes, que ya ha trabajado sólidamente con Bellydance. y este nivel es el que ocupamos específicamente para performance o presentaciones. Y a lo largo del mes nos damos 1 hora de tiempo para la tropa, en la cual hablamos de presentaciones, tenemos ideas, desarrollamos o hacemos acuerdos al respecto. Yeah.
After pandemic now? Or
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, so since the pandemic, we've kind of changed our structure a little bit just because, you know, there was so much going on, not a lot of, you know, it was like classes on, classes off, masks on, masks off, masks on again. So we did lose a lot of, I guess, interest in, you know, classes. A lot of people had different work schedules. They had children working from home. I mean,
running sweatshops over here.
people had their children at home because you couldn't send them to school. So people were working from home and also having their children at home, and it got more challenging to get people to come to class consistently. So we dropped our classes down to 1 day a week. So we only have basically a beginning, intermediate class and then an advanced class now, only 1 day a week, so that people would just, you know, still come and still have an interest in dance and not, you know, find another hobby that they're more into than us.
Vimos que, dada la pandemia, cambió la forma en cómo estuvimos trabajando a cómo lo hacemos el día de hoy. Tenemos lo que es un nivel donde incluimos a las básicas y a las segundo nivel, anteriormente intermedio, y tenemos nuestro grupo de nivel avanzado. Lo que tuvo que cambiar es como ahora por la pandemia hay personas que están todo el tiempo en casa y en este caso está, por ejemplo, una madre con sus hijos y no puede venir a tomar clase. Entonces tuvimos que cambiar los ritmos y tomar decisiones al respecto. Y estos cambios los hicimos porque para ayudar a esta comunidad y que no fuera a encontrar otro hobby en otro lado y pues apoyarnos.
There are a lot of students here that are like, okay.
If the pandemic kind of has taught us anything, it's that we have to be really able to adapt and pivot when necessary. So when we first came back, we had these ideas of, okay, we're going to have a level 1 class because we had all these new beginner students when we first came back. And then we had our advanced students. So we were like, okay, we're going to have this one beginning class. And then our second class is going to be a level 2, 3. And we thought that was how it was going to go. And then the next session, it was all advanced beginners who we had before. So we kind of have had to let attendance and let who's there kind of drive what we teach each time. So depending on who's there, we don't want, you know, to bore all our more advanced students or have our beginner students feel totally left out. So as instructors, we've had to kind of learn to pivot and adapt depending on who's there to learn.
Tuvimos que adaptarnos y aprender a trabajar con distintos niveles, porque cuando empezamos a regresar a clases, tuvimos este plan después de una charla. ¿Sabes qué? Vemos que hay un montón de gente que quiere entrar a este estilo, es totalmente neófita, pero, y tenemos este otro nivel intermedio y tenemos el avanzado. Sin embargo, ya cuando llegó el momento de entrar a la clase, nos percatamos de que los números no encajaban. Entonces resulta que teníamos en un grupo personas de nivel avanzado y de nivel básico. Entonces, para nosotras fue un aprendizaje. En base a las personas que asistían, de ahí tomar decisiones de qué es lo que les íbamos a empezar a enseñar. Tuvimos que, como maestras, aprender a cómo adaptarnos y mantener no aburridas a las de nivel avanzado, ni tampoco sobrecargar a las de nivel básico, sino cómo balancearlo. Karen Felker say, I never be able to have a single level class.
Oh,
Yeah, it's,
wow,
it is, yeah, you kind of have to split it up because, you know, a lot of our obviously consistent student base is our student troop, you know, especially during and post-pandemic times, we get maybe one new student who will show up for a session and then not show up the next session. So we don't have the consistency that we do with an advanced class. So if we have a new person and we're, you know, we also have our student troop in there, which I would say makes up 60%, 70% of our student base. Yeah, there's no way we could just teach one class.
Algo que sucede es que Con las de nivel básico, pues no tenemos el compromiso de una persona que realmente continúe con el aprendizaje, que es algo diferente que sucede con la tropa de bailarines más avanzados. Entonces sucede que nuestros grupos son un 70% como mixto y de repente pues tenemos solo una persona de nivel básico y todas las demás son de nivel avanzado. Aprender a trabajar y a balancear esto ha sido algo complicado.
We're loving seeing all the cats taking the workshop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So many cats in here.
We're hurting all of them.
Yeah.
The human cats and the feline cats.
Dicen que pueden apreciar a través de la pantalla cuántos gatos hay paseándose por aquí y por allá. And here I'm.
Oh, there they are. Nice.
Cute. Okay, so let's kind of talk about, so like we said, we sort of let the students in the beginning class at least kind of dictate the content that we teach. So if we have a lot of new people, we stick to the basic. I mean, most of you, I think, are all improv dancers on some level, right? Or is there, I know there was a soloist in there, but
She was a soloist and something else too.
yeah.
Ok, primero que nada dice, ellas
and
en base a todo lo que ha pasado, instan, depende de las asistentes a las clases, es como van evaluando el ritmo que van a seguir. Y antes de continuar, quiere preguntar quiénes de aquí son bailarinas solistas y creo que la mayoría son bailarinas de improvisación, ¿cierto?
Okay, so I guess we'll start at the base level of, so anybody who joins our classes obviously starts at the level 1, the base level, learning the foundation, the level 1 sort of stuff.
And we also, all our student troops, they don't ever stop taking level 1. You're never like so great that you don't need to drill the basics. So everyone, including us, takes level 1 still.
Yeah, it's a requirement. You can move up, but you still have to continue to take level 1 in our classes.
Hay un detalle. En este caso, a cada nuevo integrante que viene a tomar clases, siempre se les va a instar que empiecen desde nivel básico. Y aun cuando avances a nivel 2 o 3, tienen la responsabilidad, es parte del compromiso de estar tomando los fundamentos todo el tiempo.
So students often ask, how do we move up? When do we know that we're ready for level 2? So we have this sheet here that we print out to give to students so that they know what they need to work on in order to level up in our classes. So basically they have to be able to maintain the dance posture that we use. They have to be able to perform the shimmy full time. They have to, so we also start really early with the music theory. You have to understand where the 1 is. It's kind of a big deal in our format. So you have to at least be able to have an understanding of the basic finger symbol pattern. You don't have to play it completely and
Perfectly.
fluently, but you have to know how it works and be able to feel comfortable clinking your hands together at least. And then you should be able to perform both leading and following all the movements taught in level 1.
Muy bien. En este caso, cuando ingresa alguien nuevo, Darien.
Darren!
What's up, Darian?
Yeah, magic break.
Cuando alguien ingresa a Walker Bellydance a tomar clases, siempre los vamos a acompañar de un documento. Y en este documento le estamos detallando qué es lo que se espera de ellas. Primordialmente le hace saber qué es lo que se espera de tal estudiante. Le estamos incluyendo la lista de los pasos que va a aprender, también las bases de la postura y de nuestra técnica, que tiene que ser capaz de desarrollar un shimmy limpio, mantener la postura. Nosotras, para Walcar, uno de nuestros sellos particulares es la música, así que desde muy temprano empezamos a ver teoría musical y se les pide que sean fuertes respecto a este estudio y su aplicación. También lo que son los SEALs, que tengan una práctica que permita que lo ejecuten de manera orgánica y cómoda, y también que interpreten los ritmos básicos que utilizamos en Walker Bellydance. Y finalmente, que debe de ser una bailarina que pueda trabajar tanto de ser líder como seguidora. Fortalecemos que ambas partes sean muy importantes y que tengan muy claro todo esto que acabamos de enumerar al llegar a estudiar con Walcar.
So then there's level 3. And again, this has kind of changed since we merged classes. We used to have 2 student troops, one entry level called Aniep, and that was anybody who was in level 3, and they would be able to, they were eligible for gigs that, you know, festivals, non-paid gigs,
Street fairs,
community gigs, things like that. So it was basically anything that,
non-paid.
yeah, and it's not super high professional level, but just to give them an opportunity to perform. So that's where our level 3 class, you know, came in. It was a performance oriented, but not necessarily our student troupe at the time. It was a place for experimentation. So we do like floor work, more advanced things, sword work, floor work, basket work, kind of things like that are more advanced level than level 2, which is the bulk of our movement vocabulary is level 2, and level 3 is more of a high level performance based class.
Antes de la pandemia teníamos 2 tropas. Una de ellas, Anti-Up, es la tropa, digamos que de nivel básico intermedio. Es la tropa en la cual se les da la oportunidad a las bailarinas de empezar a foguearse, tener oportunidades para presentarse en festivales, en presentaciones no pagadas, en festivales callejeros, etcétera. Es en sí una tropa no profesional, pero se les insta para empezar a seguir, a crecer y tener la oportunidad de presentarse. Y ya teníamos la otra tropa que ya es como la profesional, que realmente ya puede tener presentaciones pagadas y su experiencia en escenario pues es mucho más grande.
Okay, so our requirements to be able to join a level 3 class or to be part of the level 3, you have to be invited in our troop is, let's see, again, all the same requirements to get into level 2. So you have to be able to maintain your dance posture, know all the level 1 moves, have a grasp on the level 2 movements, cues, leading and following. Cueing is also really important to make sure that you know, people are able to follow you when you're dancing. You have to be able to be willing to come out and lead. We always dance sort of like a set at the end of each class, and we don't invite people into level 3 until they feel comfortable coming out and taking the lead and not just following in a set. Obviously showing the ability to count the music and finding the one all the time. Let's see, being able to layer shimmies on different moves. Showing awareness of formations and how to change the lead. See, we don't really do that anymore. Be willing to accept feedback and constructive criticism.
That's a big one.
And then take it home and make it work for you. So not just listening to it, but actually interpreting the feedback that we give and making corrections. Which,
yeah,
sure.
Y en el caso de la tropa profesional, la única manera de ingresar a ella es bajo invitación directa. Y pues enumeramos todo lo que la hoja que se les da al entrar a estudiar nuestro estilo, le damos. Aparte de la invitación, nosotras checamos grupalmente que dicha bailarina tenga el lenguaje de nivel 1 y de nivel 2, que sea una líder fuerte, así como seguidora, que tenga sus cues fuertes y gran contraste, que sea una líder fuerte. En el caso del nivel 3, cuando hacemos nuestras sesiones, pues generalmente nosotras lideramos, empezamos y necesitamos que ellas nos sigan y en algún momento dado liderear. Tienen que ser capaces de eso. También musicalmente es requisito extremo que sepan encontrar el uno de la música y fluir con él. Que los shimmies estén presentes en aquellos pasos que los ameritan, que sepan cambiar de formaciones, que algo principal que enumera esta Christmas es aceptar, escuchar y aceptar y trabajar en críticas. Ese es un punto fundamental. Y no solamente que lo escuchan, sino que realmente nosotras veamos que lo están aplicando.
So to that point, the next one was just also being able to self-correct by watching yourself in the mirror or on video. So we do a lot of, you know, self-reflection where, you know, whenever there's a festival or performance, we have the students watch videos and tell us, like 3 things you think you did well, something you need to work on, things that you think the troupe did well together, and things that you think the troupe need to work on all together. So that's important, being able to watch videos and make corrections that way. And then being open to come to all as many classes as you can. So all the levels, which she sort of touched on before, still taking level 1, being willing to do that, and, being excited about coming to all the levels that you are invited to. So.
Uno de los puntos que menciona, que refuerzan, es tener la aptitud de autocorregir. Cuando están en el salón y tenemos el espejo, que puedan evaluar qué es lo que está sucediendo mal en su técnica y ejecución y corregirlo. También en la parte de los videos. Por ejemplo, cuando hacemos performance, después evaluamos el video y platicamos esto. A nivel personal, ¿qué necesitas y puedes pulir? También a nivel grupal, ¿qué es lo que se necesita fortalecer? Todas estas sesiones son para autoevaluarnos y poder mejorarnos como tribu. Algo también que siempre vamos a instar para que la técnica y la ejecución sea fuerte, dancísticamente hablando, es que las bailarinas tienen que estar abiertas a tomar tantas cuantas clases puedan.
Another thing that we all really encourage and that we think is really important is to have some intellectual curiosity about dance. And that means not just from us. Like, we encourage all our students to take classes from other instructors, take workshops in different styles of dance. There's lots of online resources these days, even if there's not as much in person stuff. So we encourage, go take, you're always there's always something to be gotten out of learning from many different sources.
Siempre les vamos a instar a que tengan curiosidad dancística. Algo que fomentamos es que tomen clases con muchos otros maestros, con muchos otros estilos dancísticos. Y hoy en día, a raíz de la pandemia, pues hay muchos recursos que se pueden explotar para que ellas sigan nutriéndose a la vez que fundamentemos el que sean continuamente curiosas.
Does anybody have any questions so far about
Bien,
just
vamos hasta aquí. ¿Algún comentario, pregunta que quieran elaborar antes de que continuemos?
or any burning questions that you're dying to ask us that you want us to cover in this?
Yeah, if there's anything
alguna-
you're like, I came here specifically to learn this, let us know what that is.
O si tienen alguna pregunta en particular que quieran que nosotros les contestemos, ese es el momento. Pueden escribir en el chat. Y si dicen, vine específicamente a esta top class para preguntar algo, este es el momento.
Favorite drink?
Oh, whiskey. I mean, tequila.
You're fire!
I know. Well, last time we were in Mexico, well, maybe not last time, the first time we all did develop a healthy love of mezcal.
Well, I thought you said pulque.
No, you like pulque.
Dice, bueno, su bebida favorita, en este caso de Christmas, es el whisky. Después corrigió sobre el tequila, pero dice que de las últimas ocasiones que estuvieron en México tuvieron una muy buena dosis de mezcal. Y a Siva que le gusta el pulque.
That's all
El
her.
pulque baboso.
We do live, the area of Northern California that we live in is known for its wine. So that's pretty much the beverage of choice
It
around
runs
here.
through your veins.
Yeah, I live in the middle of a vineyard.
Yeah.
If any of you saw our what was that thing?
Belladonna's.
Oh,
Oh,
the
that was the
sword
Superstars
thing.
of
Yeah, we
Sword
filmed
thing,
it in
yeah.
my backyard, and it's just vineyards back there. So
El lugar donde ellas habitan está como a 1 hora y media de San Francisco y es un área muy extensa de viñedos. Por lo cual, el tomar vino y el comerciar con vino en esta área es algo muy frecuente, así que es como que el veneno de su elección es constante y miau.
what about you, Siebes? Do you have a favorite cocktail of the moment?
Anything with vodka, actually.
Oh, okay.
of the
See,
moment, okay.
she's on a vodka trip right now.
Yeah.
All right.
Y Siva dice, le preguntan a Siva que ahorita cuál es su cóctel, su base favorita, y dice que vodka. Ok, ¿alguna otra pregunta sobre el tópico?
Back to the lecture at hand. Are we moving on to student troops?
Yeah.
Okay,
Bien.
so let's talk about our student troop. Like right now,
Hablemos sobre nuestra tropa de estudiantes, perdón.
Like Raina said, we used to have 2 student troops. We had kind of our entry level, which was level 3, and then our more advanced student troop. However, our level 3 student troop has been with us for so long that they kind of have now gotten to the same level as our performance student troop. So we have merged them into one. So now we only have 1 student troop, and that is Black Diamond Bellydance.
Muy bien, como les comentaba anteriormente, en tiempo anterior a la pandemia tenían dos tropas, pero ahorita a raíz de todos estos cambios tuvieron que esta tropa que ha estado con ella durante tanto tiempo y que ya tiene prácticamente su mismo nivel en cuanto a performance y ejecución dancística, pues lo que hicieron es unir a las 2 tropas y actualmente la tropa se llama Black Diamond.
So dealing with student troops is always a kind of learning experience as you go along. You're always going to have different personalities. You're going to have different numbers. You're going to have newness kind of all the way around. Before the pandemic, we had slightly stricter rules than we do now because life has just kind of changed. But this was the original troop guidelines that we had for Black Diamonds. And we print it all out for them because we don't want there to be any questions. We want there to be absolute clarity of this is what is expected of you. And if you think that this is something that you can bring forth, great. But if you're not ready to commit in that way, that's fine too. People come to dance for all kinds of reasons. And a lot of people aren't interested in performing. They just want to come enjoy community and enjoy, dance. And that's fine too. Am I keep going, Walkie? Keep going?
No, please.
I was like, I'm giving you I'm
taking
giving you
notes to remind everything. Muy bien, cuando vamos ya a ingresar a personas a Black Diamond específicamente, les damos también un escrito, porque lo que queremos es que les quede perfectamente claro qué es aquello en lo que se están metiendo. Y pues algo que tuvimos que hacer es ser un tanto más flexibles respecto a nuestros requerimientos, pero al mismo tiempo que estén muy claros respecto al compromiso que están adquiriendo. ¿Por qué? Porque resulta que hay algunas personas que quieren entrar a esto y nada más divertirse, bailar por relajarse, pero esto no es el objetivo de Black Diamond. En este caso, queremos que detallen con nosotras todos los puntos de lo que se espera de ellas para que estén conscientemente comprometidas.
So what we've kind of had to do is separate just being a member of Black Diamond and enjoying class time and being eligible to perform and take gigs. And those are now kind of have become 2 separate things in that we have former members of Black Diamond who, for whatever life changes or for whatever reasons, aren't able to maintain the same level of requirements that we had in the past.
En este caso, como hablábamos de flexibilizar, de unir 2 tipos a solo uno, en Black Diamonds actualmente tenemos a 2 tipos de miembros. Aquellos que solamente asisten a clases y quieren disfrutar del movimiento. Y tenemos a otro grupo en el cual sí ya está más abocado a performance, a hacerlo de una manera más profesional. Pero somos muy claras al respecto.
So it used to be number 1, attendance, that you had to attend twice a week, all classes, and that you had to be registered for all classes. And if you didn't register or missed part of a session, then your standing as a troop member might be reevaluated. That's not really the case anymore in terms of the troop, because after the pandemic, we're all so starved for community, and our students, their little troop was a really important part just in their hearts and community, and just being able to come back and dance was such a big deal that we certainly didn't want to take that away from anyone or say, you're no longer a member of this. So instead, we revised it so that if you want to just come drop in, that's totally fine. We encourage drop-ins. We encourage just coming for the love of dance and community, but you don't get to perform.
Antes de la pandemia teníamos unas reglas muy específicas. Por ejemplo, si quieres ser solo estudiante, ven 2 veces a la semana a clases. Pero si quieres ser parte de la tropa se va a enfocar a performance, ahí sí tienes que asistir absolutamente a todas ellas. Reitero, tuvimos que flexibilizar y como la pandemia cambiaron muchas cosas. Resulta que o actualmente les instamos a que, sabes, si estamos en una clase de nivel avanzado, simplemente ven y asiste. Si no puedes asistir a varias clases, pero solamente hay una clase de nivel avanzado, ven, sé parte. Pero tienes que estar conscientes de que no por estar en la clase de nivel más avanzado vas a estar lista para presentarte. Lo que nosotros estamos haciendo a raíz de la pandemia es aprender a ser más flexibles para mantener y trabajar por nuestra comunidad, porque no queremos que se vayan. Nosotras existimos gracias a estas personas que estudian con nosotros y queremos responderles y mantenernos en conjunto.
Okay. So to be eligible to perform at gigs, you now have to be completely registered for both classes for the entire session. You cannot do drop-ins. And we have our 6-week sessions. You can't miss more than 2 classes and perform. So if you miss more than 2,
Out of 6.
out of 6, you can't perform at gigs.
Actualmente lo que tenemos es para los grupos, el grupo avanzado y que quiere seguir siendo parte de dicho grupo que puede tener la oportunidad de performance importantes, es en nuestras sesiones de 6 semanas no pueden faltar a 2 clases. De una vez que sucede eso, automáticamente están fuera de la tropa y pues se reevalúa.
Because at the end of the day, when they're performing out in the world, our student troops also represent us, right? So we want to keep that representation at a high caliber and, know that they're just not out there doing whatever. We want to keep, we found that we had to keep a little tighter reins on what our student troop was in terms of performance, as opposed to just community of ladies who love to dance together.
Finalmente, ella, parte de estos puntos que implican tener, de que seamos estrictas, es por el simple y sencillo hecho de que ellas nos representan a nosotros y nuestro lenguaje. Esto implica que nosotras tenemos que ver la calidad de su ejecución dancística y su compromiso, porque allá afuera están reflejando todo nuestro trabajo.
And a lot of the student troop guidelines are very similar to the level 3 guidelines because there was a lot of crossover. Feedback, being able to take it, being able to change it, not just taking the feedback and be like, okay, thanks, and then nothing changes. Listen to feedback, watch videos, critique yourself. Don't make excuses. As a teacher, that's one of the most frustrating things on the planet is when you tell a student, you need to fix this. And they're like, well, today I was tired, or today, my cat scratched me, or whatever. Being able to take criticism, not make excuses, and do something with it.
Lo que sí conservamos hoy en día es en esta tropa lo que anteriormente solicitábamos, que tenga su lenguaje, que esté limpia en cuanto a la ejecución dancística, que sea proactiva, que pueda recibir críticas, que vea con nosotros videos, que nos dé retroalimentación. Y un punto primordial es, no queremos excusas, porque como maestra es uno de los puntos fundamentales y frustrantes. Si se les hace observaciones, pero realmente no están aplicándolos, no está evolucionando, pues ¿de qué se trata? Entonces no queremos escuchar a alguien que diga, oye, ¿sabes qué? Mi gato me atropelló o algo por el estilo. Algo primordial es que no aceptamos excusas ya en este nivel avanzado.
And some of these might seem like they would be common sense, and they are,
They are.
but believe it or not, it's better to just have it written out so you can say, no, look, it says here in the student guidelines. One is punctuality, being on time. We understand that life happens and things come up, but if you are gonna be late or if you're not gonna be there, text us, call us, let us know. Otherwise, there's things that we might be wanting to teach, but we can't teach it unless everyone's there or certain people are there. So punctuality is a big one.
Uno de los puntos primordiales, uno de los puntos primordiales.
I don't know if I should keep going.
Tenemos esto escrito, pero también lo reevaluamos por sentido común, porque resulta que si nada más lo platicas, Cuando llega este momento de retroalimentación y te dicen, no, pues es que nunca hablamos de esto, dice, claro que sí, aquí está. Y de esta manera lo estamos fortaleciendo. Una parte importante de esta guía nos puntualiza también que hay que ser puntuales, que no vamos a aceptar pretextos, que si por alguna razón la vida sucede, no importa, tienen distintos medios en los cuales comunicarse y avisar que no va a poder asistir y nosotras estamos conscientes de ello.
I just saw that Kay said that she started to do this since last time she took this workshop. So good job, sister. So sets and music, a lot of our music is proprietary. A lot of it is remixed or different versions done by yours truly. So our students, they are not allowed to give out our music. They are not allowed to give out our sets. They're not allowed to copy it or use it in any other dance performances except representing Wildcard as Black Diamond.
Hablando de música, algo que es muy importante es como yo hago los mix de piezas particulares, ellas no están autorizadas para utilizar esa música sin permiso para copiarla, para distribuirla, porque es un sello particular de Wildcard Bellydance. Entonces eso no está permitido. Okay, before we continue, Karin Felker have a comment in the chat.
Sure.
So yeah. Yes, I start to do this since last time I took this workshop. It's so useful to have things written out.
Yep, 100%. Reina had something she wanted to add.
Oh, I just wanted to touch on that. Also, we do give our students the freedom to find new music. It's always good to have, you know, a team of people searching for music that's appropriate for our format. We call it a canon of music. I think I got that from Fat Chance, actually, from Sophia.
The canon.
The canon of
canon. Yo dije, Canada Music? Canada Music?
Yeah, it's we call it the canon. It's like all the rotating songs that our students can choose from if they have gigs, if they have favorites or whatnot, but they're all pretty easy to dance to, no slow breaks, appropriate for all skill levels. And if they want to find new music, which they do all the time, they need to run it by us first, because there are a lot of times, and I'm sure like everybody kind of has that, like the Durwood Green, the first time you were a level 1 student and you had to perform to Durwood Green, and there's those big like slow breaks, and it's like, it's a higher level for it's not,
Everyone's like, oh, Durwood Green.
You know, everybody knows that first time they were like, shit, I have to learn this song now, and it's so hard. And so, you know,
everybody wants to dance to it. It's so beautiful.
It is so beautiful, but it's a challenging song. And if not everybody is kind of like, you know, up to a higher level when it comes to interpreting music and dancing and like knowing where things are, we don't like to let them choose music that's above different dancers' pay grades. I don't know how to put it. Yeah, because we also oftentimes have mixed level performances, you know, at like farmers markets and stuff like that. So they need to run all the music by us so that they're not choosing music that's inappropriate for you know, less experienced dancers to dance to. There's not a lot of, you know, slow breaks or, you know, endings that are hard to, you know, nail, things like that. So we kind of give them a lot of freedom to choose, but also kind of regulate what's being chosen for different, what's appropriate for certain festivals and things like that. And everybody's skill level also comes into
Muy bien.
play.
Tenemos algo que tenemos inspirados en esta Sofía de Tessera, que en Fat Chance le denominaban el canon musical, es decir, como una especie de caldero donde hay un montón de música y es la que vamos a constantemente reproducir. Esto incluye música que podemos utilizar específicamente en clase, cuáles son las favoritas de ellas para la clase o haflas, y es un banco que nos va a permitir como que musicalmente irlas despertando, identificar el tipo de música. Para nosotros es muy importante porque les enseñamos también qué tipo de música es apropiada para clase, para una presentación, para un festival, si vamos a tener alguna feria en un lugar como más informal, en algún tipo de bar, etcétera. Entonces, algo que nosotros les estamos instando es que tengan este bagaje musical, pero al mismo tiempo que vayan identificando qué sí es apropiado para ciertos lugares y qué no. También les instamos a que ellas vayan buscando música, es decir, entre nosotras nos encargamos de estar buscando opciones musicales que vayan acorde a nuestro estilo y que también puedan acercarse a nosotras y hacer tales propuestas. Y volvemos a lo mismo, esto nos va a permitir pues enfocarnos a distinto tipo de presentación público y que vayamos experimentando al respecto. Es importante, les instamos, por ejemplo, a alguien de nivel básico, de que tenga este canon musical para escuchar música y va a encontrar algunas piezas que son fáciles de interpretar, pero va a encontrar algo que es más difícil. Entonces, alguien de nivel básico jamás le vamos a hacer que interprete Dergon Grimm del maestro Sam Ramsey, porque es una pieza, de hecho, vio en Zoom la cara de todas cuando dijimos Dergon Grimm. Conocemos esta música, como es hermosa, pero también es complicada, así que nos va ayudando este canon musical a nosotras. Before we continue, Misha Kane
Yeah,
asked,
I saw that. So Misha
Yes.
asked you if we offer online classes, and if so, is there consideration if the student comes to the online classes but not in person? The short answer is no, we don't offer online classes, but we have always, since 10 years ago, all our level 1 format is on YouTube for free all the time. So a student can, you know, if they're taking level 1 and they want more practice at home, it's Siba in her living room. So they can drill that way. The only thing about that is they can see us, we can't see them. So if there's anything that needs to be corrected, or if there's, so they could be drilling really bad posture, you know, so there is kind of the challenge with that, but we have always offered our level 1 format on YouTube.
Also to touch on that, we do get quite frequently dancers that come to class that have previous dance experience.
Yes.
Obviously, if you have improv dance experience or are a, you know, fat chance style teacher, you can definitely like join in on level 2 or even level 3, depending on your dance experience. So it's not like you just have to start at level 1 until we can like judge you. If you have previous dance experience within our classes, then we allow people to move up ranks faster for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as performances, like if it's a student online and then wanting to perform with any of our student troops, that's usually doesn't happen just because you need actual face-to-face
Yeah.
Dancing with each other.
We have done,
face to back of head.
we can make a little pause.
Okay.
Misha hizo esta pregunta en el chat. Y en este caso, cuando alguna alumna no viene a clases, ustedes tienen la opción de dar sesiones online de tal manera que pueda tomarlas para cubrir esas clases que ella no vino presencialmente. Y respondió Christmas específicamente, no damos y tenemos sesiones online, no las hemos ofrecido antes y no las tenemos en plan. Algo importante es para nosotras ver a las bailarinas. En este caso, si por alguna razón no puede venir a clase, pues en el canal de Danamoon, en YouTube, está todo lo que es el nivel 1 de vocabulario de de Wildcard, los básicos. Entonces puede ver esas sesiones y están totalmente gratuitas, pueden aprenderlas allí. Y esa es una forma. Si no viene a clases, ahí tiene su práctica. Pero lo que nosotros queremos en sí es que haya práctica, verlas y corregirlas. Por ejemplo, si viene alguien y tiene una experiencia en Fat Chance o en algún otro lenguaje, puede seguirlo practicando, no hay problema, pero para ser partícipe y representar al estilo Wildcard y en alguna presentación, ya sea básica o más avanzada, sí necesitamos que estén con nosotras, ver su lenguaje corporal y cuando sea necesario corregirlas.
that
Yeah.
being said, we have and do privates over Zoom.
Eso, again?
Rarely.
I said,
Well,
Siebes, stop. That being said, we have done and do one-on-one privates over Zoom.
Just
Dice
class.
que, sin embargo, sí han estado ellas disponibles para hacer sesiones privadas 1 a 1 en Zoom.
Christmas does.
Yeah.
Misha, respond something?
Same here. My troop members can suggest songs. Yeah.
For both performance and class. However, it needs to be appropriate for the venue. Yes.
We're gonna circle back to music and
Yeah, we use a lot of Middle Eastern music, and so we vet out the lyrics and the content there too. Yes, for
Good.
Same.
sure.
That's
yeah,
good.
yeah. So to go back to the music before we kind of got off topic. One of the things that Wildcard really prides itself on is our musicality. We teach a workshop on music mapping and even on musicality. So we have this canon for our students. So if they have a gig that's in a couple weeks, it's songs that they already know, they have already heard. And it's, I mean, it's big, it's 80 plus songs. So there's a lot that they can choose from and not have overlap. But there's definitely things that we dance to that are not on the canon because it's above their pay grade. They're not going to hit all the musicality. They're not going to hit, you know, everything that needs to be hit. And
Or
it's
fast. We dance to a lot of very fast.
yeah.
fast
And
songs.
can they zill to it without it sounding like lunacy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Bien, para nosotras, regresando al tema de la musicalidad, es muy importante para Walcar.
Yeah.
Nosotras impartimos, de hecho, un taller especializado en crear un mapa musical. Y el hecho de que tengan todo este canon de música, estamos hablando de que son hasta 80 tracks que pueden aprender. Entonces, ya que están familiarizadas, ya que tienen más contacto y se sienten más orgánicas al respecto del conocimiento, pues es una cantidad bastante amplia con la cuales pueden ellas trabajar y con las cuales nosotras también practicamos y las ejecutamos. Sin embargo, hay una parte de la música que solo nos pertenece a nosotras como tropa Walcar, porque les gusta bailar mucho a una velocidad alta y también hay crótalos que deben de ir acorde a esa velocidad, así que pues también hay una parte de la música que solo ellas ejecutan y conocen.
Yeah. Can you dance to it? But can you dance to it and zill to it?
Debes de bailar con ella, pero también debes de practicar los crótalos al mismo tiempo.
So, and what someone touched on there, we don't often dance to music with lyrics, but if there are lyrics, we make sure that the students have to go find out exactly what it's saying.
Algo que no hacemos comúnmente es bailar música que contenga letras, pero cuando lo llegamos a hacer, nos encargamos de que las alumnas y nosotras hagamos una investigación respecto a la letra, qué significa. Siempre nos aseguramos de eso. Amisha say she have to go, but thank you. She would love to share all this experience.
So, and as far as performance opportunities for our student troop, performance opportunities come up and either it's something that we'll bring to them or oftentimes it's something that they bring to us. And we have to, you know, we always have a conversation about, is it appropriate? You know,
Should it really be a paid gig?
yeah,
or
should it be a paid gig? If so, what are other performers getting paid? Because we want to always be cognizant about not undercutting other members of our community. And, you know, is it a charity? Is it something you're super passionate about? And when performances arise, we want commitment then. If you're a yes, you're a yes. If you're not sure, you're probably a no. You can be a maybe for a couple days, but then you have to be either a yes or a no.
Respecto a oportunidades para ser parte de festivales o algunos eventos, siempre las estamos buscando, pero siempre las evaluamos. Si alguien viene y dice, oye, sabes, nos están invitando a este festival o a este lugar en específico, lo evaluamos. Y de ahí evaluamos si es algo que vamos a cobrar, no vamos a cobrar, o también estamos muy conscientes de quiénes participan, nos van a pagar a nosotras, pero no a ellas, o viceversa, y llegamos a un acuerdo. Algo que no hacemos en Wildcard es boicotear a otras bailarinas o a otras agrupaciones. Siempre tratamos de trabajar en integridad y en comunidad. En este caso, una vez que platicamos y decimos, oye, yo no estoy segura, yo sí, yo no, o todas aceptamos, o si alguien está con, no sé, tal vez, a lo mejor, es probable, lo más probable es que no seamos partícipes, pero sí hacemos el consenso y hablamos al respecto.
You must be present for rehearsals for a gig. Usually that's class time. You always have to be at the last one before a gig. If you can't be at that one, you probably don't perform. Or if you can't be at rehearsals, but you still really want to perform and maybe it's an event that you brought, maybe you perform, but you don't get to lead. you can only follow, or you only come out in one song and you only follow.
Respecto a la participación de los shows, siempre vamos a utilizar parte de la clase para practicar al respecto. Sin embargo, si no te presentas a los dos últimos ensayos y específicamente al último de un performance, estás fuera. Pero, ¿qué sucede? Resulta que por alguna razón no pudiste llegar al último ensayo, pero es un performance o es una presentación que tú conseguiste, ¿ok? Vas a ser parte de, pero no vas a liderear. Hacemos acuerdos.
Lean in.
Any questions on student troop stuff that we have not covered?
I have some stuff.
Preguntas hasta aquí
Pasa
que
acá.
no hayamos tocado respecto a lo que es la tropa de estudiantes.
Do you have issues with egos of some point?
Yes,
Always.
that's what I was
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what
Always.
I'm gonna talk about.
Siebes is gonna jump on that. Right now?
Michelle pregunta, ¿han tenido problemas de egos en algún momento de su historia? Y dicen, sí,
Of course.
claro, a
So,
huevo decimos en México.
so we also, we just don't let our student troop kind of run wild. We know that they're not always going to get along, that they are not a troop that has chosen each other, that they are a troop that was formed of dancers of similar skill. So their personalities are not always the best match. So we have to,
Hablando de egos, vamos a hablar de los casos de alumnas. Resulta que viene alguien de nivel básico y otras van creciendo y se conforma un grupo de personas que tienen un mismo nivel, un mismo interés y que coincidieron durante bastante tiempo. Ajá.
So we try and check in with them at least once a session. We will sit down outside of a class and ask how they're doing, ask if any problems have come up. At that point, usually like people, if a problem has come up, they usually are messaging us or, you know, pulling us aside and saying, hey, this has come up. Can you help us resolve this issue? So that we can all sit down together and talk about it and talk about how to resolve the issue. And it doesn't always, there's a lot of big egos that do happen. And sometimes it's trying to reel them in a little bit to say, hey, you can't always lead in every single song, and trying to make things more equal. And it's an interesting process.
En este caso, cuando sucede eso, se forman pequeños grupos y también empiezan a formarse pequeñas discrepancias, pues lo que hacemos es empezar a preguntar qué es lo que está sucediendo, en qué manera los podemos ayudar y empezamos a hacer sugerencias como de, oye, siempre tenemos personalidades muy grandes, tal vez en tu caso liderea, pero también encontrar la manera de que pueda ser más copartícipe con las otras de la tribu.
And we're,
Encontrar acuerdos.
within any group, you're also going to have people that are much more vocal
Mhm.
personalities,
Yeah.
and people that are much more quiet and aren't as comfortable, you know, talking about what's bothering them, or aren't as confrontational. That's probably not the best word. So it's kind of up to us as teachers to then in these meetings, maybe say to the more quiet, you know, not as outspoken one, how do you feel about this? To kind of encourage them to talk amongst themselves.
Because the ultimate goal, right, would be for people to be able to solve problems on their own. And sometimes when they first join the troop, we have to facilitate communication between the troopies, because like Sieb said, they don't always, you know, they didn't pick each other. They are just kind of in a troop that we were like you and you. So we have this talking zill and we like make people say stuff, especially if they're the ones that come to us with an issue and then don't want to talk when the meeting comes. You know, we're like, no, you have to use your voice. You have to be able to express your issues. If you want to work within a troop of people, you have to be able to communicate. It's a big part of the whole herding cats situation, or making teamwork the dream work.
Yeah. So, and what Reina was saying with the talking zill. Oh, sorry, go ahead. We'll get back to the talking zill.
Tenemos distintos tipos de personalidades. Tenemos a las personas que son muy vocales, que pueden expresar fácilmente y a veces incluso de manera muy apasionada sus opiniones, pero también tenemos personas que son un tanto más calladas o silenciosas, y no es que no tengan una opinión al respecto, es simplemente que les cuesta más expresarse. Entonces, cuando llegan estos casos y tenemos a alguien que nos dice, oye, tengo este problema, lo primero que les vamos a instar es que lo expresen. Si eres capaz de bailar con un grupo, tienes también que encontrar la manera de cómo expresarte de manera equilibrada. En este caso, por ejemplo, si tenemos un grupo y tenemos a alguien que es muy vocal y alguien que es muy silencioso, nosotras le preguntamos, ok, ¿tú qué tienes que opinar al respecto? ¿Qué piensas? ¿Cómo te sientes? Lo que hacemos es como mediar entre la que es muy vocal y entre la que tal vez no es muy expresiva y de esta manera instarla a que a que se exprese. Nosotras no damos dedazos, sino que vamos justo encontrando la forma de cómo mediar esto.
So the talking zill, and we have used this for troop. We have used it with our student troops. It seems silly. It works great. So we have the zill, the talking zill. Whoever holds the talking zill, they're the only person that gets to talk. Everyone else has to shut the fuck up and not say a word. And as long they get to hold it as long as they want and say whatever they want. And only when they're done, then it can go to the next person.
Tenemos algo que llamamos tenemos algo que llamamos el crótalo de el taking, seal talking.
Like when I'm talking,
Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
still and nobody else is allowed to talk.
Tenemos el seal para hablar. Es decir, mientras yo tenga ese seal en mi mano, va a ser mi momento exclusivo de expresar todo lo que tenga que expresar, cómo lo tenga que expresar. Y mientras no lo suelte, todo lo que quiera decir va a ser escuchado. Y hasta que no alguien más lo tome, exclusivamente a esa persona se le dedica ese momento para expresarse.
And even if you pass the zill and that person doesn't want to say anything, they're not allowed to pass it on. You have to at least say, I don't have an opinion on that matter, or I feel very neutral about it, or something, but you have to say something. Something's got to come out of your mouth before you can pass it on. And most of the time, even the people who are quiet, when they're holding it, they're like, this is my one opportunity to get this thing off my chest. I better say it now. Otherwise, the opportunity is going to be lost forever, because you have to open your mouth and say something regardless. So if you do, you might as well, I feel that our students are more like, even though it takes a minute or they may get emotional or whatever, they'll say something. If they know they can't just sit there and not say anything, they will say something meaningful.
Otra dinámica del crótalo con el que hablas, mientras lo tienes en tu mano, es al momento de pasárselo a alguien más, ella no lo va a pasar a otra persona sin decir nada. Tienes la obligación de, en cuanto lo recibes, vas a expresar y decir algo, inclusive. No tengo opinión al respecto, o sabes que estoy como que en un punto medio, no tengo una opinión aún desarrollada. Pero algo que hemos encontrado es que incluso las personas que son como las calladitas de la tropa, al momento en que reciben el crótalo y aunque les tome hasta un minuto respirar y tomar tiempo para expresarse, generalmente lo hacen.
Any other questions? Oh,
Or just-
Steve saw something.
I'm like,
Steve, do you have a
I
question?
tried the talking bell. God damn it. No.
Ok, Siva tiene algo que decir antes de que alguien más quiera hacer una pregunta. Les insta que sigan participando. Yes, Siva?
It's ultimately also, we're aware as teachers, like we're watching what's happening in class, we're watching what's happening before class and after class. So we can see when clicks start to happen and this duet always dances together and they don't ever want to dance with anybody else. It's up to us to be like, oh, hey, maybe you two need to separate and dance with other people. Or if we start to notice that someone is just, looks like they have a dark cloud over them, if they seem really depressed, it's up to us to kind of like, it's okay to reach out and check in and be like, hey, how are you doing? Not like during class, but afterwards to be like, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Is it personal or is it dance? Would you like to talk about if it's personal? If you don't want to, that's fine. But if it's dance, it's like, okay, let's have a one-on-one and chat. And then maybe we can bring it to the larger group. We've had to do that a lot coming back from the pandemic.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So
Erin have a question in the chat?
I think
It says insensitive people versus very bold and don't notice things might be
Yeah.
hurtful. This is more the problem that I have encountered.
Ok, bueno, lo que dice esta Siva, algo que hacemos mucho como maestras es observar antes de la clase, durante la clase y después. De esta manera, nosotros estamos escaneando a las alumnas y podemos identificar qué sucede, incluso en qué momentos empiezan a hacer ciertas roces o discrepancias. O, por ejemplo, sabes, estas dos personas están bailando mucho juntas, tal vez parte de ayudar a balancear estos que empiecen a bailar con otras personas. Siempre estamos muy atentas a lo que está aconteciendo en el salón. Por ejemplo, si captamos que alguien viene un poquito baja de energía, nos acercamos al final de la clase y les decimos, oye, te noté de esta manera, estás un poco triste, es algo que quieras compartir, es algo en tu vida personal o es algo sobre danza que quieras que hablemos y que manejemos. En nuestro caso es parte de nuestra práctica como maestras de estar pendientes todo el tiempo.
And there's always also the time where we recognize that the troops are a community, and community is so important right now, and people want to hold on to that long when they should have let go of it. We've had a couple dancers who needed to retire or due to like amount of kids or work that really just couldn't commit anymore to the troop at all, but they weren't willing to leave. And we don't want to kick them out the door. So we've made it very okay just to drop in. You don't need to sign up for classes. You can just come once and just pay the drop-in fee and enjoy the community, but knowing full well that they will not ever be performing unless they can meet the requirements. And it's made it a lot easier on several of the dancers who are really can't commit anymore, but they don't want to leave.
And it's also made it easier on the dancers who are really committed
Mm-hmm.
to have us step in and let the people who can't commit know you're not showing up for your troop.
But you can still
You
come
come
to
and
class,
dance,
but
but
you
yeah.
can't perform with people.
Resulta que nosotras nos preocupamos sobre nuestra comunidad. Esto implica el que a veces identificas personas en tu tropa que, por ejemplo, ya son retiradas o que por cuestiones de trabajo o cuestiones de su hogar no pueden estar viniendo constantemente a clases, no pueden estar comprometidas para ser parte de la tropa que constantemente va a tener presentaciones o va a crecer de una manera fuerte. Su compromiso no es tan fuerte como el de otras, pero no quiere dejar la comunidad, no quiere dejar parte de nuestra agrupación. Entonces, lo que hacemos es no de, bueno, pues ya te vas, pues ahí está la puerta, vete. Al contrario, lo que le decimos es de, oye, pues si no puedes venir y comprometerte al ciclo de clases, puedes venir cuando puedas y paga el monto por clase suelta. De esta manera damos oportunidades a esas personas que son parte y disfrutan la danza en nuestra comunidad, pero no están comprometidas a ser parte. Pero también les dejamos muy claro, si no puedes asistir y no estás en las prácticas, puedes seguir siendo parte de nuestra comunidad y nuestra tribu, pero no vas a estar considerada para performance.
Okay, so
Yes.
any other questions on student troops before we move on to kind of regular troop dynamics?
Muy bien. ¿Alguna otra pregunta respecto a esto, la tropa de estudiantes, antes de que hablemos con la tropa, sobre la tropa como tal?
Also, I just wanted to
Reina has the talking zone.
touching on our student troop. We reserve the right to constantly change the rules. Like there was a comment about people being bold, and we have had some students where you give them an inch, they want to take a mile. And so we have constantly changed the rules in order to I don't know, I guess make it work for everybody, or things come up all the time, and you know, we're also still learning. You know, we've been doing this for 20 years, but there's always things that come up that are like, maybe we need to pull some power back, or maybe we need to give them more power, you know, because I don't know, it's just depending on, and there are people that come and go in the student troop all the time. The personalities are constantly different. So in order to be able to work fluently with them, each time we come in, or, you know, at the beginning of each session, we say, hey, like, we'll have a check-in with them. And also you check in with ourselves. How are things going? And noticing that so-and-so is trying to be a little bit more aggressive, or now thinks she's the student troop director or whatever. So sometimes we got to reel that power back in and say, okay, we're taking this into our hands now, when maybe we had given them the power to do something before. So they do kind of know that, because we have changed the rules so many times, but we have to do it in order to work, because ultimately we have, you know, the ultimate say, and we are the you know, dance parents or the people who need to, you know, crack down if we need to, or let them fly a little freer if they need to. It's constantly changing. So
Algo respecto a las reglas es que también somos muy flexibles al respecto. Nos permitimos cambiar las reglas, no son inamovibles. Acabamos de hablar de lo de la pandemia, pero en realidad esto ha pasado somos una tribu que ha estado bailando juntas 20 años. Y lo que hemos hecho durante todo el tiempo es aprender que podemos atravesar distintas facetas. Dependemos mucho de las reglas dependiendo de la gente que tenemos, de gente muy experimentada, gente nueva, porque lo que queremos es ser flexibles con las reglas para que las reglas funcionen para todas y no que las reglas en algún momento ahoguen a algunos miembros por sobre otros. Por ejemplo, luego vemos que alguien no es muy fuerte respecto a crótalos y vemos cómo lo evaluamos entre todas y decimos cómo lo vamos a trabajar, cómo lo vamos a combatir, fortalecer. Y de esta manera llegamos a acuerdos. Entonces, para nosotros las reglas no son algo inamovibles, depende de la circunstancia, lo que estemos viviendo, nos podemos adaptar. Y finalmente, como directoras que somos, podemos tomar nosotras la última palabra y en algún momento dado, si es pertinente, pues decir, oye, tú puedes ser libre, miau. Listo.
And one other thing is that we're not perfect. We screw up. We don't always phrase things the best way in communication. And there's been times where I've had to like go to people or check in and be like, hey, how are you feeling with the decisions that Wildcard just handed down? And sometimes they're like, well, we wish you would have considered this or that, or wish you would have given us a heads up. So we're constantly knowing that we're a work in progress as well, that we are constantly working on being better communicators, better troop directors to them. And we know we need to apologize and say like, sorry, my bad, our bad. We will work on doing that more gracefully in the future. I think that goes a long way with them. A little bit of us saying like, sorry, we didn't do that as
We too fuck up.
Yes, yes.
Algo primordial es que ellas están conscientes de que no son perfectas. Lo que hacen constantemente es pedir retroalimentación con las personas y estudiantes con las que están trabajando, evaluarlo y escuchar. Están conscientes de que no siempre, incluso con todas estas pautas que tienen, se pueden comunicar de una manera adecuada y acertada, así que están en constante aprendizaje. El hecho de ser directoras de tropa implica que todo el tiempo están escuchando, todo el tiempo se están retroalimentando y en algunos momentos, incluso cuando es pertinente, decimos, oye, discúlpame, no me comuniqué de la manera adecuada, oye, pasó algo así, oye, podemos mejorar y pues estamos conscientes de que a veces también la cagamos.
Okay, any other questions on student troops?
Otra pregunta sobre la tropa de bailarinas. No.
Good.
Okay,
So we are lucky. We are super lucky because as a wild card, we chose each other. We didn't get it wasn't random people thrown together because our skill level is the same place. We got to choose each other to be in a troop together. And we know that that's not the case for everybody. And we appreciate how lucky that is for us. And that gives us many advantages, I think, over other troops. So yeah, but even though we've chosen each other, we also all hold each other accountable. We consider this our job. I mean, yes, we all have day jobs and no, we're not making a lot of money at this at all. But it's still, we show up professionally. We hold ourselves accountable. We're on time. We are prepared. We are looking how to make things better. And that's something that our troop commitment to each other is always there. Yeah. I mean, we have the standards that we kind of hold ourselves to. I mean, we talked about everything we hold our students to, but things that we hold ourselves to are to also attend as many classes as possible, to also try and dance in as many gigs as possible or festivals. I mean, we're not going to be like, I don't think I want to do that one. You two just do that one, or we'll just pass it off to the students. It's like, no, we try and be out there in the community. Do I need to give you a break? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Algo, nosotras somos afortunadas porque nosotros nos escogimos unas a la otra. No somos una tribu que fue conformada por esta persona llegó aquí, es decir, por un encuentro aleatorio. En nuestro caso, nos conocemos de hace mucho tiempo y tenemos, gracias a eso, toda una serie de ventajas que un montón de tribus no han tenido. Si bien no ganamos dinero de esto propiamente, porque tenemos nuestro trabajo de día, aún así, esto para nosotros implica un compromiso y lo vemos y lo desarrollamos de forma profesional. Esto implica que nosotras siempre estamos instándonos a mejorar a nivel personal y a nivel grupal. Siempre estamos tomando seminarios, siempre estamos participando en shows, somos muy partícipes de la comunidad, estamos siendo, siempre estamos muy presentes y tenemos estándares personales y grupales y siempre estamos buscando esto, la manera de mejorarnos.
So even though we're friends, we make sure that as wild card, we're treating each other professionally, that, and if like, if something comes up between us, we have to put, you know, on our big girl panties and be like, hey, you hurt my feelings, or hey, you know, I mean, first you need to look at it like, do they mean it personally, or is it, am I being sensitive today, or is it something that needs to be addressed? You kind of need to do that personal work yourself of like, oh, am I just not in a good mood and I took that the wrong way, or to be like, hey, you hurt my feelings, what was behind that? You've got to be able to be open with that and not let things kind of fester or harbor.
Aun cuando somos amigas, siempre vamos a mantener las cosas muy profesionales. Si algo no nos parece, lo expresamos. Si alguien en algún momento dado hirió nuestros sentimientos, lo vamos a expresar. Siempre vamos a estar conscientes de que algo puede acontecer, pero nos comunicamos adecuadamente.
Real quick on that.
Yeah.
Being in a troupe is a super intimate experience. And especially when you're dancing improv, you know, you kind of have to have that like telepathy and like shared energetic space on the dance floor. And if there's something between somebody, it's going to show up. It's going to show up on the dance floor and there's going to be a disconnect, especially with improv.
Estamos muy conscientes de que el hecho de ser una tropa de improvisación implica que vamos a desarrollar una experiencia muy íntima. Llega un momento en el cual desarrollas cierta telepatía, estás compartiendo energía en el escenario y también algo de lo cual estamos conscientes es que a veces, incluso con todo esto, se puede llegar a acontecer desconexiones entre los integrantes de la tropa en pleno escenario.
So sweeping things under the rug is not a good strategy.
Así que el hecho de que te guardes algo y se empieza a pudrir no es la mejor y nunca va a ser una buena estrategia.
Okay, so we're friends, we're professional. We look at our stuff to make sure that we self-reflect on what we need to reflect upon, so we're not casting shadows on anybody else. But we also work to improve each other. Like I'm constantly, you know, where's the one? How's my musicality? How can I do this better? I'm open to feedback from all of the ladies, and they're open from feedback. We know that we can like approach each other and be like with questions or with you know feedback to help each other out, to make each other a better troupe.
Also, like, let things go. If you have, like, the other day I showed up to Sirens and I was like, I have this idea in my head, then it just didn't work, and I was like, okay, I gotta let it go. I'm not gonna keep forcing my, you know, agenda onto other people if it's not working for everybody or if it's something not everybody feels comfortable with.
Aunque seamos amigas, nos vamos a mantener siempre en un rubro profesional. Siempre vamos a instarnos a mejorar personalmente. A nivel personal, si va a hablar de, por ejemplo, en mi caso, si tengo alguna debilidad respecto a la música y no la aprecio bien, estoy escuchándolas a ellas, estoy abierta a recibir retroalimentación y de esa manera poder crecer. Algo que nos aconteció, por ejemplo, es de, oye, vas al Siren Fest y de repente surge una idea, ¿saben? Tengo esto en mente, podemos ejecutarlo. Y resulta que, pues, tal vez no funciona, pero de todos modos lo compartiste y es algo que está ahí para todas.
So we also try and support our local and our greater dance community as well, because while we're in it together to win it as a troupe, we also want all the other dancers to be successful. So when we go to a performance, we're not just showing up and performing and then leaving. We're going to stay and watch the whole show. We're not going to like be on our phones while someone else is performing and texting away. We're going to be present and watching and exaggerating to our little heart's content. It just helps support all the other performers that are there. Because it's not only about us, it's about the greater dance community.
Because if we don't have each other, belly dance is going to fizzle and go away.
Yeah, yeah.
Wait, Ok, nosotras siempre vamos a dar soporte a la comunidad. Queremos queremos nosotras bailar, disfrutar de este contexto grupal, pero también queremos que las personas en nuestra comunidad y en el área local sean exitosos. De tal manera que siempre vamos a dar soporte a los shows. Vamos a bailar, pero también nos gusta observar los shows. No de estar sentada frente al escenario y estar haciendo scrolling con tu teléfono, no. Lo que queremos es que nos vean ahí, a dar un sagarit, que sientan nuestro soporte y que nos vean, porque como comunidad de belly dance es que si entre nosotras no nos damos soportes, finalmente esto va y puede desaparecer.
Wait, I just want to add one thing on what she was talking about. When we're in class or when we're in rehearsal, we show up, we're there to work, we're there to, you know, make Wildcard the best that it can be. But we also realize that it's really important for us to have relationship outside too. So we set aside time where it's off, we're off the clock. We're going to hang out and we're not allowed to talk about belly dance. We're not allowed to play belly dance music. We're not allowed to talk about our student troops, where we just hang out as friends, because that's important too. If we're only working together, you know, we have to play together a little bit too.
Nuestras relaciones, tanto dentro como fuera, son muy importantes. Nos vamos a instar a que desarrollemos también relaciones fuera de la tropa. Hay momentos que dedicamos de nosotras y es tiempo fuera de lo que es Wildcard Belly Dance como tal. Si nos vamos a tomar algo, no vamos a estar hablando de Belly Dance, ni vamos a estar hablando de las alumnas, ni vamos a estar escuchando música de Belly Dance. Nos enfocamos específicamente a nosotras y esto nos mantiene tener una salud como tropa.
And we're always trying to grow as Wildcard. We're always looking for new music, new costuming.
New costuming, yes.
So hard these days. Looking for what we can add to our format, you know, how we can improve our moves or create new ones. And that's something that we've been struggling a little bit since the pandemic. We used to, before the pandemic, we had a whole hour to ourselves every week to dance together, to create, to plant seeds of, you know, of new things that are coming up, and we've been missing that lately, and it's been a little challenging.
Nosotras procuramos tener tiempo entre nosotras a la semana, al menos una hora. En ese tiempo, por ejemplo, ahorita con la pandemia ha sido difícil mantenernos juntas, pero en esa hora siempre hablamos de la visión que tenemos respecto a nuestro lenguaje, al querer mejorar algún paso, al querer incrementar nuestro lenguaje, o bien ponernos al tanto de cosas que están aconteciendo afuera, y también finalmente de poder bailar y practicar juntas al menos una hora a la semana.
We were talking about, you know, as we were actually going over the notes for this workshop, you know, we have a lot of, you know, very structured things on the way things used to be. And then post-pandemic, we've definitely gotten more relaxed on requirements for ourselves as well as our students. So we were kind of having a chat of like, what are we looking at in the like future as far as
What are our troop goals?
Yeah, what are our troop goals, and like, you know, if and when the pandemic ever goes away, because it's still around, how do we, what do we miss from the old days of, you know, kind of getting together and sort of talking about, you know, what we would like to bring back from the old days that we sort of let go of, which was fine during, you know, during these last few years. We haven't felt the desire to go to class twice a week, or, you know, to spend all this time and money on costuming for,
flow, though.
Yeah, for shows that we haven't done. During the pandemic, we got together, and I have a really big garage. We had our students there once a week so that we would still be able to dance, because our classes got completely canceled. But, you know, we kind of had to chat about our goals for the future. I'll take a tea so you can translate.
Reiteramos, hemos tenido que aprender a ser flexibles para poder seguir juntas. Durante la pandemia, esto nos reforzó esto de ser muy flexibles, y también nos empezó a enfatizar el hecho de compartir y tener más claras lo que son las metas como tribu. Una realidad es que la pandemia continúa, entonces el hecho de ya no ser tan estrictas con reglas que tuvimos antaño y ser más flexible para mantenernos juntas, pues es algo que nos ha ayudado. Por ejemplo, durante la pandemia, en el caso de la casa de Reina, ella tenía un garage bastante amplio, entonces dio acceso a esa área para que las alumnas pudieran verse y seguir practicando. Entonces, siguen aprendiendo y siendo flexibles para mantenerse juntas.
And it's interesting because we're the 3 core members of Wildcard, but there's 2 more. And I don't know if we can't let go of them or if they can't let go of us.
It's both. It's both.
And it's an interesting balance because we know we will all 3 of us will always be there. We'll be there in class, we'll be teaching the classes, we'll be at all of the performances. We will be questing for the new music and costuming and moves. But yeah, we have these 2 other dear dance sisters that have been with us through the years, and because they have children,
Or live an hour away. Yeah.
we're childless by choice,
Yeah,
we're-
none of us have
we're
kids,
blessed
which
that way.
makes it easier.
but they have kids. They live a little bit, one of them lives a little bit further away. And it's like, we know that while their heart is always with us, we've had to be like, if you want to perform with us, we have some requirements for you. And if you can't meet these requirements, you know, you can't show up at the gig. And so it's been very interesting to see when they can come back and when they can't, and when we will, what we can, and they know they're not trying to like force their way in, show up to one class and be like, I'm gonna dance with you. It's like, no, they know how to self-regulate. And I think that's hugely important.
Nosotras somos 5 elementos en Wildcard actualmente, pero siempre van a ver a ellas 3, que son las que están más activas. Prácticamente cuando viajan para seminarios, para shows, etcétera, son el rostro más representativo de Wildcard. Tenemos otros 2 miembros que son mamás. Y no por eso no son Wildcard, pero su grado de compromiso es distinto. Ellas, como mencionan, pues son mamás, entonces implican que tienen otras actividades y prioridades. En el caso de las 3 que están viendo aquí, ninguna de ellas tiene hijos. Así que la dinámica cambia. Siguen siendo parte de la tropa, sin embargo, cuando quieren presentarse para ciertos performances o presentaciones en particular, aún así se les ponen ciertos requerimientos. Tienes que venir a ciertos ensayos, cumplir ciertas clases, asistencias para que puedan manifestar lo que es Wildcard como tal. Aun cuando son parte de, no son demasiado flexibles, tienen parámetros. Yeah.
And of course we have this vibrant student troupe. Why wouldn't we just choose one of the student troupe members to come join us as wild card? Because they would love that, and bless their souls. But we know that at the performance level where we're at, it's so high intensity, and we have to be able to read each other's minds so clearly that we don't want to add someone else to the mix who is not a complete personality mix with us, because we know it's a very delicate balance.
Well, I believe that the reason that is because we are a collective. It's not like one director and then the troupe. We make all of our decisions together. We make all of our goals together. We do a lot of things jointly, and to add somebody in is kind of the one challenge of being a collective, is that that person will have opinions on things and, you know, suggestions and
hasn't had the history
that we have together, and hasn't worked together the way we have, because we have also gone through our hard times and our communication, you know, things, and we've all worked really hard to be able to communicate, to treat each other better, to treat each other with more respect, to delegate, to allow certain things to happen. And you know, it's a challenge to open that up to somebody else who may not you know, sit personality wise exactly where we are.
Tenemos nosotros una trupa de estudiantes, y si bien la tenemos de nivel avanzado, el hecho de tomar a alguien e ingresarlo a Wildcard solo porque sí no funcionaría. La dinámica que ellas tienen, y en base a todos estos años de trabajo, ha creado una sinergia muy particular. Es un balance muy bonito, pero que también es muy delicado. Entonces, en este caso, toman mucho en cuenta cómo se relacionan entre ellas, la química que han desarrollado, sus relaciones, cómo han crecido y han evolucionado, y consideran que integrar a alguien a esa dinámica no es algo sencillo de hacer, porque todo esto que han logrado, la dinámica y la madurez para tomar estas acciones como colectivo, recuerden que ellas no tienen una directora como tal, es algo que se ha desarrollado a lo largo de mucho tiempo, por lo cual para ellas pensar en integrar a alguien es algo que tendrían que meditar mucho y
Okay.
pues no está sucediendo.
So to kind of alleviate that, we started performing with them as a wild card full house. We would combine both troops for certain performances so that the student troop got a chance to dance with us to see how we form sets, how we're to dance with us in a performance
More formal environment.
than just class. And I think that's really helped alleviate a lot of the tensions of them wanting to, I want to be in wild card.
Algunas de estas, ¿cómo hemos lidiado con esto? Porque sabemos que hay personas que quieren ser parte de la tropa oficial, Wildcard Bellydance. Lo que hacemos es, tenemos esta tropa más avanzada que puede bailar con nosotras y en algunos eventos participamos juntas. Y de esta manera como que cubrimos ese apetito por el hecho de trabajar y cooperar con nosotras, pero sigue siendo ella una tropa aparte.
Another thing to think about that we've had to think about with adding new members, it's not so much anymore. Hopefully it will be again. We travel together a lot. So we have to be, happy spending 24 hours a day, a week in a row together, and adding another person into that mix. As a troop, we have to think about, is this going to make us bigger or better? Is it just numbers, or is this person have something to bring that's going to make us better?
Una de las razones que cerramos filas, actualmente Wildcard no estamos dispuestas a integrar a nadie más, pero puede suceder en el futuro. El punto es que nos preguntamos, realmente son personas, nosotras viajamos de tanto en tanto, entonces pensar, es una persona con la cual yo pueda estar viajando 20 horas junto a mí, y realmente solamente queremos números, es decir, que Wildcard tenga mayor cantidad de integrantes, o realmente va a ser una persona que va a propiciar que nosotras crezcamos como agrupación. Es algo que nos preguntamos primordialmente respecto a integrar a alguien más.
Because Christmas is actually the only member from Black Diamonds that we have ever upgraded to wild card, and it was a huge
Decision.
vision, yes. And it had to be like, what can she add to the troop? We all had to sit down and be like, okay, what does she add? What are the disadvantages of having her come? What are her strengths that she's bringing to help us grow?
And can the disadvantages be worked out? Can we bring those to her? Are they things that can be fixed?
Worked on.
Or
Can she be fixed?
not fixed, but is it like a matter of that thing is never going to change, and we either have to accept it, or can we talk to that person and say,
Right.
hey, we really want you in the troop, but there's this one thing that's hanging everybody up, and it's X thing, and can you do better on that, or whatever it is, be it technique or personality or
All of it.
whatever it is. It's not necessarily a pros and cons list, but sort of like, can what you bring to wild card, outweigh what bringing us down? Can you
De
bring
hecho,
us up or you bring us
Dragging you guys down.
De hecho, Christmas fue la primer y único elemento que emergió de Black Diamonds. Y para poderla ascender, fue en el 2015, yes, when you visit the second time Mexico City. I remember it was 2015
Was
something.
that 2015? So it would have been
Yes.
like the year before that?
Yes,
Okay.
because it wasn't the second visit you was here.
Yeah, 'cause
So,
we
lo que mencionamos es que Christmas, de hecho, es el único elemento que ha emergido de Black Diamonds, de su tropa profesional de alumnas, y tomaron una gran plática para poder decidir si ella era parte o no. Y no es que tengan precisamente una lista de buenos puntos y malos puntos, pero sí evalúan de, oye, Estos son los puntos favorables, estos no. ¿Qué tanto estamos dispuestas a que esta persona entre a la agrupación a Walcar y nos haga crecer? ¿Qué es lo que va a aportar ella? Y por otra parte, esto que aporta nos va a hacer más grandes y esto que no es tan bueno de ella, ¿qué tanto lo podemos lidiar con ello? ¿Qué tanto puede, tanto ella como nosotros, aceptarlo y ayudar a que evolucione? Tomamos mucho en cuenta la personalidad, de que esa personalidad vaya a ser química con nosotras y pues hasta ahorita ha sido la única persona que ha ascendido y les comentaba que recuerdo que fue en el 2015, en la segunda visita que hicieron aquí a la Ciudad de México.
So I know, so kind of sidebar, it's still on troop stuff, but I know sometimes money makes people can break up a lot of troops, and there is no money. There is no getting rich. There is no when we get our paycheck from the community center, each teacher gets $30 per class that they've taught. And that's how we kind of break up the teacher fees. And then there's some money left over to pay taxes, and there's some money left over to like pay for our website or buy a video at a, you know, of our performance at a
When
festival.
we used to have a travel fund.
Well, we still have a travel fund.
Yes.
And a small percentage, 15% or something, it's not small compared
Yeah.
to the amount we have to split it up into.
Right.
But a percentage of our class fees go to, we call it the troop fund. And we used to use that primarily for travel. When we used to, obviously, if we get asked to perform or teach somewhere, they don't pay for 3 people. You know, they'll usually pay for 1 person, and we're a team. So, you know, we were like, how is it not so like one person's coming out of pocket all the time? So we created this troop fund to kind of help alleviate expenses so that we could travel together and, you know, do a lot of things together. Also, we have a lot of things that, you know, not even just teaching gigs. Like if we're performing at a festival in San Francisco, like we use it to pay for our gas money so that, you know, the troop isn't stressing us out financially or becoming a burden or anything. Like it's not for costuming or anything like that,
No.
but it's for belly dance related expenses that we incur,
As a
you
troop.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
cost of goods sold, if you will, with my accounting term.
Sabemos que hay algunas tribus que rompen porque no tienen problemas con el dinero. No es nuestro caso. El dinero no es nuestro objetivo primordial. En nuestro caso, pensemos, no es nuestro caso primordial y no vamos a terminar por dinero. Por ejemplo, hablando de las clases, hablando de esto, ganamos como $30 por una sesión y lo que hacemos es que repartirla entre nosotras. Entonces, realmente no estamos hablando de grandes cantidades de dinero. Lo que queda también hay que pagar impuestos y también vamos haciendo, como vamos separando montos de eso para pagar el website o actualizar cosas que necesitamos. En algún momento dado, si vamos a un festival, hay que pagar por el video de dicha participación. Así que ahí se enfoca parte del dinero. También tenemos algo llamado el fondo de la tropa para viajar. Sucede que nosotras viajamos a un festival, pero generalmente cuando te contratan para un festival solo pagan por una maestra, pero nosotros siempre vamos a trabajar como agrupación. Entonces, parte de ese fondo para los viajes es, pues, nos llevamos a las otras 2, siempre viajamos juntas y nos sirve para cubrir esos gastos de aunque se pague una, viajan las otras 2 o parte de ese monto es para pagar la gasolina para viajar a San Francisco y hacer una presentación. Lo que hacemos es siempre apoyarnos. Somos un equipo, somos una tropa. Y no crean que parte de ese fondo lo estamos invirtiendo en vestuario. No, en realidad tiene que ver con esto de nuestros viajes como tropa.
So we have 15 minutes left. Does anybody have any burning questions?
Tenemos 15 minutos que nos quedan. ¿Hay preguntas específicas que quieran hacer? Aprovechenlas.
I got some more stuff to add.
Yo tengo muchas más cosas que añadir,
But if anybody has any burning questions on what we've touched on so far, feel free to shout them out.
pero
Something we haven't, and you were like, this is the thing.
bien, si quieren participar, les insistamos, ya nos quedan solo 15 minutos. Si tienes algo en mente y dices, esta es la pregunta específica que le quiero hacer, escriban al chat y participen, no sean rancheras.
Okay, Siba, why don't you touch on some things while people are
So,
firing out those burning questions?
okay, so post-pandemic slump, it's just like, it's a thing.
Yes.
It's like, it not only did it affect people's the amount of people that are coming to classes and our desire for dance. It's like, how do you stay inspired in dance? How do you stay invested in dance? Because we've been doing this for what we say 20 years, for a long freaking time. So how do we personally all stay inspired and invested? I know for me, I actually am starting to take an online class. I swear to God, I'd never do it, but I'm doing it, and it's only 5 minutes every day, but it's kind of helpful for me just to be invested for 5 minutes in a dance drill. I also try and take from different teachers, and it's just kind of inspiring to see how other teachers teach. Even though it's a beginner level class, there's always something I can still learn.
Mhm.
And it's not that I'm gonna bring it back to wild card and create a new move, but it's just a way
But
to.
sometimes that happens.
Totally.
Sometimes it
And
Sometimes it
we
happens.
we all take workshops at festivals that are, not our format.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to always grow, and it's going to help you stay more just invested in wanting to show up and dance. Because I know a lot of people in the pandemic got into baking bread, doing other things. It's like, and they
Collecting plants.
and just didn't come back to dance. And the other thing that helps me from this post-pandemic slump is no online drama.
Yes.
Yeah. That is there's
enough of that.
there's so much soul sucking that happens in online drama, and so don't participate. That's all
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we've definitely just tried to stay informed and educated throughout all the things
Mhm.
that have been happening through the pandemic. But as far as engaging and commenting, we try to stay out of that. We just read, learn, reflect, take it to the troop, say, how can we be better? What can we what can we do to be better? But separating ourselves from the drama of it has been a big help.
Bien. Un punto que quiero manejar, Siva, es cómo ellas se mantienen inspiradas como bailarinas después de 20 años y sobre todo ahorita que aconteció la pandemia. En el caso de Siva, comenta, ella nunca había tomado una clase online, sin embargo, ha encontrado que es una buena herramienta. Ella encontró ahorita una práctica en la cual se conecta 5 minutos al día para hacer un drill y eso la mantiene en movimiento y también inspirada. Ha tenido la oportunidad de aprender de otros maestros, no de solamente este estilo, sino de otros, y el hecho de tener acceso a esta nueva información y cómo otras personas enseñan es algo que a ella la mantiene inspirada. Ahora, no siempre es para aprender nuevas cosas e integrar a Walcar o hacer nuevo vocabulario o nuevos combos. Es mucho en el afán de mantenerte abierto a nueva información y por ende que con ella puedes crecer. En el caso de la pandemia mencionan, hay muchas personas que durante la pandemia aprendieron nuevas cosas, alguien a cocinar pan, en el caso de Christmas o trabajar con plantas y tener muchas ahí en su jardín, así que siempre nos mantenemos abiertas a algo nuevo. Algo que puntualizan también es, no están abiertas al drama. El drama chupa mucha energía y no quieren brindarle energía a eso. Por ejemplo, en la pandemia acontecieron muchas cosas en la comunidad y algo que siempre ellas han evitado es hacer comentarios en redes y alimentar todos esos comentarios a veces negativos. Lo que ellas hacen es observar todo lo que se está escribiendo, lo leen, lo platican, lo meditan y ven cómo les funciona a ellos o qué postura pueden tomar, pero en sí ellas nunca van a ser partícipes del drama que se manifiesta allá afuera.
Kay had a question. Do you have a wildcard bank account for that? The answer is yes, we have a wildcard bank account.
We have 2 wildcard bank accounts. So we have one account, which is the operating account. It pays for our website. It pays for videos that, we do at shows.
It's where the teacher pay comes out
It's
of.
where the teacher pay comes out of. And
It's
then
where the taxes come out of.
yeah, it's where the business kind of operating expenses come out of. And then we have a second bank account, which is the troop fund, which we use for gas, for travel,
Yeah.
for, every year we
Sales of-
have like,
Sales of t-shirts and our CD that goes into the travel fund.
yeah,
Which
we
they
use it
got out of
for,
now.
like every year we have like a
No, no.
holiday party at the end of the year. We buy like a shit ton of pizzas and have a dance party with our students. So we like pay for stuff like that out of it so that none of us are like coming out of pocket for those types of expenses that are Bellydance related, but not necessarily operating expenses.
Tenemos dos tipos de cuentas, una en la cual es donde se pagan los impuestos, parte de ese dinero va para alimentar, para pagar el website o para pagar videos de cuando vamos a presentaciones. Es en sí como la cuenta de los negocios de Wildcard Bellydance. Y tiene la otra que es el fondo de la tropa para viajes. Este lo ocupan para los viajes o bien cuando ellas venden sus playeras o sus CDs de música, y parte de ese dinero también lo ocupan en una reunión anual que hacen con las alumnas. Es decir, ese dinero no es solo por y para ellas, también lo invierten en las alumnas porque son parte de su comunidad y de su razón de ser.
So back to online drama, we do have conversations with our students about it. We don't, because of course they're seeing what's happening online and they're like big eyes going, what's happening? And so we will have a conversation with them. We'll talk about what we need to alter, what we need to change, what we need to work on, and what is actually okay and is someone else's just opinion. So we do have a dialogue with our students so they know that we're aware of it, we know what's going on, and they feel their fears a little alleviated from
And
that.
sometimes we even have to explain to them drama that was 5 years ago. And they're like, why is this a thing?
Algo que hacemos es tener una charla con las alumnas respecto al drama. Les comentamos esto de que no permitimos y no participamos de, pero también nos gusta mantenerlas informadas. Por ejemplo, ahorita con todo lo que aconteció con la pandemia, tuvimos una sesión en la cual les platicamos y también escuchamos sus inquietudes, sus opiniones al respecto y las mantenemos informadas al respecto. Y miau.
And I'm really bad at social media. I admit it, I suck at it, but we have decided as Wildcard that on our Facebook page that we're never gonna come out against somebody, or we're gonna showcase our performances and our classes, and we're trying to keep it joyful and light. We're not going to engage on the drama on our professional Wildcard page, and on our personal pages we also don't engage in the drama. We've kind of made that as a decision that none of us are going to come out individually and be like, she sucks, we support her, or this is horrible. We're just like, here's our next performance.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to play into that. So yes, while I'm aware it's going on, I make sure we've all kind of have this agreement.
Keep it classy.
Keep it classy.
But it doesn't mean that we like ignore issues that are happening in the world Bellydance and worldwide stuff.
We're having those conversations.
We're having those,
personally,
yes,
and
conversations personally and with our students face to face and with individuals personally.
Mhm.
You know, it's not even a matter of just communicating between us, but with other individuals.
In our
If it
dance
happens to
community?
affect us in the dance community, we have personal conversations with them. We don't necessarily just blast things online. Sometimes people ask like, hey, this kind of affects your community directly. What's your opinion on it? And we're happy to answer questions about that. We just don't broadcast it to the world, I guess.
Siva admite que ella, respecto a lo que es el trabajo y estar constantemente en los medios sociales, no es algo que le guste, pero durante todo este tiempo han tenido que, fue una decisión que tomaron grupalmente, mantenerse classy, es decir, ser educadas, ser muy respetuosas al respecto. Esto no quiere decir que sean indiferentes respecto a lo que está sucediendo alrededor. Simplemente no participan del drama. Jamás van a ver que Wildcard en su website o en redes sociales esté poniendo temas que están causando revuelo en el momento. Tampoco van a tomar partido, decir, yo estoy con ella y estoy en contra de toda esta persona. Jamás. Ellas hicieron este acuerdo desde hace mucho tiempo en el cual mantenerse respetuosas y dar soporte a la comunidad. Y en algún momento dado, cuando alguien les hace una pregunta y les dice, oye, ¿qué opinas de esto? ¿Esto te va a afectar? ¿Cómo lo vas a manejar? Hacemos una plática, damos nuestra postura, pero siempre nos mantenemos de alguna manera al margen, pero informadas, no indiferentes. Y sí, tenemos que tener estas charlas entre nosotras y también con los alumnas, porque hay muchas cosas que nos afectan, pero se llegan a acuerdos al respecto. And I think we have 5 more minutes. So, tenemos 5 minutos más, yes.
Did you have any questions, or was there anything that you wanted us to cover or talk about that we didn't?
When you came.
Tomorrow, we're boarding a flight tonight.
I have a lot of mezcal and tinga. You can come.
And now that we have 5 minutes, if anybody wants to turn on your mic and ask a question, I feel like we've always taught this workshop in person, and
I know we've
have
never
been able
done
to
this.
like directly interact with people, and it's kind of been interesting not hearing your voices, or I know
Yes.
people have questions, but I'd like to turn on the mics and
Tenemos 5
guys.
minutos más, así que las instan a que abran sus micrófonos y las pueda escuchar. Esta es la primera vez que dan este taller en línea. De hecho, todas las veces que lo han impartido ha sido en presencia. Ven el rostro de las personas, las escuchan y esta experiencia es nueva, así que pueden aprovechar estos 4 minutos que nos quedan y preguntar algo más.
Although it has been awesome to see all the cats.
Y también va a ser muy
You guys can't
excitante
see,
ver a
but
todos los
my
gatos.
dog's hanging out right here.
Her dog just took a dump literally right there.
Nuestro perro está echado ahí atrás.
Yeah,
Así que bueno,
we have a like structured thing, but usually the workshop just takes completely different directions based on who's in it, because people are, they have questions at the end of each segment and they want to know more about a specific thing or whatnot. So it was interesting just going directly by the guideline, because we usually go off script so often, depending on people want to know more about the money side of things or the student side of things. Or
please give us feedback going forward with this workshop if there was things that you think we took too long on, or things that you wanted us to dive deeper in. Like, feel free to please, we love feedback. Facebook, email, please let us know.
Dice Reina que usualmente cada que hacen esta sesión y es presencialmente, dada la interacción de las personas en la habitación, aunque ellas tienen un script, una lista y un guión para hablar respecto a ciertos temas, las preguntas ayudan a que todo esto vaya fluyendo de una manera distinta. Todos los talleres han sido distintos, pero pues bueno, en esta ocasión ha sido online. Y Christmas les insta que les hagan retroalimentación también. Oigan, hay un tema en particular que quieren que exploremos un poco más, o hablaron demasiado sobre este tópico y no manejaron el otro. Ellas están abiertas a que las puedan contactar en su página de Facebook, también están en Instagram, así que ¿no? ¿Preguntas? No.
No questions.
No.
So interesting to hear the differences from the last time I took it, from the pandemic, all the differences, and I'm like, oh, right, they said that last time.
Totally. Yeah. They were cracking that whip last time.
Which one did you take? Where was it located? Was it in Mexico City or elsewhere?
No, I was
Reunion.
Yeah,
Reunion.
ATS Reunion.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, right before the pandemic, I think.
Yeah, definitely a lot of things have changed. Some are still the same, but
yeah, but I like well, the way you explained what you can change, well, what you have changed, and how you are flexible with some things, but others for me. That's very interesting and helpful.
Great.
Yay.
Muy bien, pues llegamos al cierre de nuestra top class. We are in the final section of the top class. So thank you so much, my dear sisters and crazy ladies, wildcard.
Wait, we gotta end with a class greet.
All together.
All
now.
together.
What is that? What was that?
A very quiet one.
A book segment.
people are trying to not piss the cats off.
Yeah, he's right here.
Yeah, he looks kind of like my cat, like a little fluffster.
He's
Can
got an outfit on.
we see the outfit?
Oh,
it's a
yeah.
sweater? Oh,
Yeah.
Snazzy.
Yeah, keeping him warm.
Bien,
He's
pues
old, so he gets cold really easily.
Oh,
Buddy.
yeah.
bien, pues cerramos esta sección. Ellas fueron Wildcard, Siva, Christmas y Olina. Y esta fue una top class enfocada a
never
lo que
mind,
es
I'll
el
get out of
trabajo
my
en tribu.
shirt.
Así
My
que,
dog's
si se quiere,
Baby. So
There you go.
cute.
Here, you can burn in the sun now.
it's big, I remember. Muy bien, so Damos cierre a esta sesión. Muchas gracias a todas ustedes las asistentes. Espero que les haya gustado esta sesión. And thank you, Wildcard, for accepting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Yeah.
And I sent you already the link of the YouTube gala show. If you can share, we still accepting donations for you, the teachers. So please share the love this week. And thank you all. Muchas gracias a todas. Una
Thank you,
fotografía.
guys.
Picture, picture, picture.
Oh God.
Oh, no.
I still look a mess from the last workshop.
Ok, 3, 2, 1.
Yay.